Hey YouTube, this is Lord Void the Eighth. This is a continuation of the 22 player Call of War map, in the Let's Play series, and we are playing as UK, as you can see. So we're gonna start off pretty quick here. Give this a recap of what happened while we were gone. So I was successful at. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Well, yeah, so we have a foothold in Europe now, and I'd like to keep that. So we're going to keep a sizable force there. And so we're currently fighting with this dude, and he's almost dead. So we should be good. Yeah, so our units have produced, and our infrastructure isn't quite done yet. Um, but we will upgrade most of that to level 2 as soon as we possibly can. So I did manage to research light tanks while we were gone. Artillery is not quite done yet, so probably just going to produce another round of infantry. I'm not sure yet. We're going to have these guys march forward and take Bruxelles just to get that extra rares. It's always useful in the beginning. So I don't really care if I lose my armored cars in the beginning, but we're not going to lose him. We're just going to have him at low morale. I don't really care because I hardly use them the rest of the game. Now I should probably change that because they can be super useful when we're trying to when we're fighting a really big player and we want to basically blitz him and get around his flanks and basically take him by surprise, lower his morale, and destroy a bunch of buildings. And that's really what they should be used for, but since the computer gives us a couple of them to start, and plus they have a 50% bonus on planes. So we're just going to take advantage of that and act like they're a really, really low level tank. So, yeah. I think I'm going to have to try and protect my coast a little bit better, but I don't really care. Because, well, let's check the newspaper, see if anyone else has gotten online. So, let's see. Finland's on. I guess, yeah, Spain is on. Algeria, of course, he's the one who's posting the newspaper. Caucasus, Egypt, not France, not Germany, not Romania, uh, not Libya. I guess, oh no, wait. Southern United States is on, Turkey. But Sweden's not on, and that's the one we probably will need to worry about in the future, because if they do decide to join, they're going to try and take down Norway, and once they do that, we could very easily be their next target. So, yeah. Well, so we're not having these guys actually go into Dublin quite yet, just because, like I said before, if we let the AI sit there for a couple of days, it will build an industrial complex, and it's just good to have lots of those producing at the beginning, because the bigger your army, the more people you can take down, and the faster you win. I'm not saying that as a general rule, though, because you don't want to overproduce, and then the strain is too much on your food and oil, and you will go negative, and problems will start to happen. And they haven't made the option where you can just dissolve a unit, which I really think they should, because that could be potentially useful if you've overbuilt. You want to remove some of your units without damaging your ratios. So, yeah, they're attacking Bruxelles. They might just go into Bastogne because I don't think there's anything Bastogne, but we'll just have them move up. We'll just have them move up. We'll have them move up there and just take a quick peek. And if there is stuff there, we might send. Yeah, we're sending this guy down into there to help, just because we don't want to lose that landing point. And what the heck, we'll bring him in there too. Probably some of the guys from London. London. um, Plus, we get the anti-aircraft in case anyone decides to spam gold at the beginning and, destroy us, which shouldn't happen because France is inactive. We have a lot of inactive people to start here, and it seems like Spain is paranoid. Yeah, that's the only thing that's unbalanced about it. We get like Gibraltar and Malta and a whole bunch of other islands in the Atlantic. So I guess UK is the only one who has like a really distinct advantage, even though it's not that big an advantage. Because like even if you do build industrial complexes on both Gibraltar and Malta, two industrial complexes is going to it's not going to have much of an effect, and if someone doesn't like it, they can just invade because there's only one militia protecting them. But yes, we are. If I had high command, I would have made sure that we had infrastructure level 2 in line, but unfortunately we don't. So since we've had those infantry to produce, let's just produce a couple more. Just because infantry are great, and you're going to need them at some point because usually by mid-game I like to produce a lot of tanks, but you're still going to need infantry to take the cities because trying to take them with tanks is a complete it's just gonna turn out to be a complete disaster because they have a 50% strength deduction in cities, and you really don't want that to happen because they'll be massacred by like a single anti-tank, which is super cheap to produce, but it's like really effective against tanks even on planes. And so putting them in cities is just a dumb move. We don't want to do that. So if there's nothing in Bastogne, we should be able to go ahead and take the Netherlands. But too much initial expansion can be problematic because obviously you have no troops in your home country to protect it, and so you're just wide open for an attack. Now, UK is actually a pretty good starting country as far as geography goes because you're isolated by water. And since we're occupying Ireland, then we shouldn't have like any problems like that. Because water is probably the best thing you have to start with if you're UK. Just because you can disembarking troops are super vulnerable because they take a few hours to disembark. Say France was attacking me, it'd take a couple hours for him to disembark from, let's say, like right there. And then if he was attacking London, he'd land at Portsmouth, and it'd take him like 4 hours to get onto the land. And while his convoy was disembarking, it'd take super long, and he'd be really open, especially since we have like this fighter that can be super useful. And also you can have like artillery pounding away at it, and it's basically just helpless. Which is why we need that landing in Europe as soon as possible, and we're going to keep it. So yeah, I think we might consider getting Ireland, although it's not actually a city, but it does have food. We always want food early game, just so we can have a nice steady production by the time we are getting super low. But yeah, so I didn't actually mention this in the first episode, but diplomacy can be super important. Um, just because, like, well, um, you never. It's always good to it's always good to be on the right footing with your fellow players. Even if you're going to be enemies, it's always great to be on basically friendly footing. Um, so we're just gonna message Spain real quick and you know asking how things are going. I mean, it really doesn't matter so long as it's like friendly and you know you just don't want to be mean, and especially if they're a gold spammer because gold spammers can be super tricky to deal with, and typically you want them on your side, especially if they're alone, they don't have a coalition or something, because you're probably going to win if you have a gold spender on your side. But if they're against you, like even with the water barrier, if France was a gold spammer, um, it would be pretty difficult for me to win in a war against him, because it's pretty typical of them to like produce a whole bunch of tactical bombers and light tanks from the start, which if you have gold you can, because the research gate is already past them, and that can be a huge problem, especially if you only have one measly fighter. But it's better than nothing, so we may as well take it. But yeah, so once the infrastructure is done, since you won't be able to see it, I will probably be upgrading the industrial complex. Simply, well, for multiple reasons. We get those units producing faster, and it's a little bit of extra production. I think 10%. Yes, 10%. But by the time it gets to level 5, it's as good as a level 3 infrastructure. But we're going to have both of those and a level 5 fortifications by the time we're done making this country the way we want it. Well, we'll probably move those in there too, just because keeping that is super important to us. Yeah. I actually might build a naval base on Plymouth or Glasgow, just because it's always good to have like a little submarine fleet to start out, in case someone gets a little feisty, like France, for instance, and they want to come across and attack you. If they're not very smart, then they'll just send it without any naval support, without their destroyers combing the ocean, and they'll just throw whatever they have at you in a huge stack or in a whole bunch of little units. And that's super vulnerable again to air attack and subs. Yeah, but fire. I wish we had fire control, but we don't, and that's fine because usually we you can tell. Usually, I can tell when someone's about to declare war, especially if you're like about to converge on a certain country, which France isn't active yet, so we shouldn't have any problems taking over Belgium. So if you there's I forget how to do it, but there's a way you can command your troops, like selecting the actual army to like, let's say we saw the army in Bastogne, and I'd press that, and then I'd tap on the army and not the actual province, so that it would be take the army, but if someone else takes the province, then leave it alone. And then the infantry would stop, and they just stop, and hopefully France would take it to hard, and they'd let our units traipse back into whatever that's called. Yeah, so that'll be all for today. I don't really have anything else to do other than upgrade those infrastructure. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you later.